I know you've seen this in probably dozens of movies or commercials or all kinds of stuff, or even if you watch podcasts. But why do you wear headphones when you record a podcast? Good question, and there's a very good reason for it too, and we'll cover that in just a second. Of course, by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly why you should wear headphones when you record an audio podcast. We'll even give you some ideas of what you can wear and what you can't wear, or what you shouldn't wear, that's for sure. And then some options that you can go with depending on what you do want to use. So let's dive in. First of all, the biggest reason why most people wear headphones, especially in a situation like that, is simply because when I was at the radio station and we're sitting here talking, I was the news sidekick, and then I eventually moved over to the host position. But with the host and news sidekick, and you're sitting there talking back and forth, of course, there are opportunities for playing sound effects or some drops or something like that. Maybe there's an interview going on or something in the background, or they've added a sound effect to the story, or maybe even some music or something like that. So if you're in the studio and you're being broadcast all over the world, or at least around your little neck of the woods, you've got your two microphones, and you don't want to put the sound coming through the speakers, because then the speakers are going then to speak right into the microphone. And if you've ever heard that before, and I'm sure you have, when it makes that loud whistling, piercing noise, that loud screech and scream, that's called feedback. When the microphone is picking up what's coming out of the speaker and then picking it up again through the microphone, that's called a feedback loop, and that's where things get really nasty. So you turn off the speakers and you put on the headphones. So now we can hear each other talking, which you can kind of hear, you're in the same room, right? But then all the other stuff that's going on in the background. If you've got, say, the phone ringing, which we always did with, whenever somebody called in, hey, do you want to wait? You would answer the phone. Well, without giving away too much of the magic, I'll just say that's what you're doing, is answering the phone. But all that would be done through the headphones. So anybody that's on air would be listening to that instead of through the speakers that are in the studio, and we end up with a whole bunch of feedback. Now, just the other day, I was watching a podcast with two gentlemen, and they were recording their podcast, but they didn't have any earphones on. So what were they doing? Well, very simply, they were recording their podcast. Everything else was going to be added in post-production. Any sound effects, any background music, anything that needed to be added was going to be added later. So between the two of them, standing there talking, and they were only a couple feet away, they could obviously hear each other. They didn't need any external speakers to hear what was going on outside, and anything that they were adding, like I said, was going to be added later. This was just a discussion. This was not a radio bit that needed sound effects or music or anything like that. It was just two guys talking. The microphones in that case were just incidental to picking up the sound. Their conversation, they could hear just fine without headphones, and they didn't need them in that case. Make sense? So is this making sense? Because we cover a lot of this stuff on this channel, so be sure to subscribe. And if you know of other business owners that are looking to getting into, if they're thinking about doing radio ads, or if they're thinking about doing a podcast for their company, or even a YouTube channel for their business, this is what we talk about here all the time. Be sure to subscribe, don't miss an episode, and hopefully get a lot of your marketing up and running very efficiently, very inexpensively, and you can probably start today once you listen to an episode. So be sure to subscribe and don't miss a thing. Now, what do you want to use? A lot of people have gone to a couple different things lately. Number one, and I'm not endorsing anything, I'm just saying this is what they're using. A lot of folks, for some reason, like the Dr. Dre Beats. You've seen the ones with the B on the side, on the headphones, or they're using AirPods. Anything that's small enough that they can tuck into their ear and listen along that way. You might even see them with a cord or something like that. That's probably more like it, because especially in a radio station or a situation like that, you're not going to have it coming off of Bluetooth off the mixing board. You're going to actually plug into the mixing board, and that's where your feed is going to come from. So chances are it's going to be wired and not Bluetooth. But those are the two things people are using, and quite frankly, when it comes to especially avoiding a feedback situation or being able to listen to the stuff that's happening incidentally in the background, like if you're doing your sound effects live, or if you're doing your background music live, and everybody needs to hear that, you still may end up with a little bit of feedback if somebody has whatever they're listening to turned up really loud. And the reason for that is it's not completely encasing the ear. What I typically do, and the ones that I used my entire radio career, are complete and total over-the-ear headphones. They literally, they're like this big and completely cover your ears and isolate the sound. There's nothing escaping around the edge. Like Beats are a little small. They're going to cover like this, and you still have this top part and this bottom part where sound can escape. And AirPods, if they're not a complete and total 100% seal, or heaven forbid one of them falls out, oh boy. If an AirPod hears the microphone and vice versa, you can still end up in a feedback loop. And now if you don't have the speakers, you might not even notice it until post-production. It got recorded. That's called an internal feedback, but that's a different story. Either way, you don't want it. So be sure to get headphones, real legitimate headphones that completely and totally cover your ears. Nice big thick padding that goes all the way around it. Probably one of the most one of the most popular ones that you'll see in radio stations are either some AKGs or some Sonys or some Sennheisers. Those are like the three brand names that they use a lot in the radio stations. But you need it to completely seal your ear just to be on the safe side. So if you're going to be messing around with audio and doing some editing and stuff like that, I have a free list of free audio editing software. It's a double freebie, a free guide of free software. Click the link in the description down below and get your copy of the free guide to free audio editing software. This is stuff that will work. I've got listings for you for Mac, Apple, even Linux, all different kinds of programs from really basic to really high-end complex, and even some ones that start free, and then if you want to upgrade to the more powerful version, you can either step into, say, a monthly subscription or a one-time payment thing. But to start with, you can try it out for free. So click the link down below and get your copy right now and try it out. Tell me what you like. I'm Nic Natarella with AdWise Creative. Thank you for watching.